Allen Lund Company has new offices in Ogden, Utah and Indianapolis, Indiana. Check allenlund.com to reach them.
OOIDA, representing America's truckers since 1973, presents Landline Now with your host, Mark Reddick.
Between another new email scam and new developments in the battle against predatory towing practices, truckers remain the target of bad actors. Mark Schremer of Landline Magazine joins us with new developments on both issues this week. From a trucker stepping up to fulfill a child's dream to a trucker with a lame excuse for a bad incident, S.J. Munoz, Tyson Fisher, and Ryan Witkowski of Landline Magazine will tell us who in recent news has been good and who's been bad, with some roses and raspberries. And finally, an infamous truck-eating bridge in Kansas City, Missouri is getting a makeover. 4 new murals are being used to spruce up the area and in turn hopefully prevent future truckers from trying to fit their semi under the low-clearance bridge. One of the artists selected to do the work, Mike Elder, joins the program to discuss the process. But first, the news with Scott Thompson.
Thanks, Mark. Our top story today: the number of Class 8 trucks being ordered continues to slide. ACT Research says its preliminary data shows 13,400 orders in July, down 13% from a year earlier and down 8% from June. But that's not really a surprise. ACT President and Senior Analyst Kenny Veith said historically, July is the worst month of the year for Class 8 orders. This weekend marks the end of an era in the small town of Waupun, Wisconsin. The 35th and final Waupun Truckin' Show is happening right now. You've got hundreds of beautifully detailed trucks from all over the United States and Canada. The truck show competition, demonstrations, vendors, and entertainment. The Lights of the Night Parade is on track for 9 p.m. on Friday, followed by a daytime parade on Saturday afternoon. Nancy Kutchenreiter, vice president of the show, said each event is like a family reunion, which makes a decision to end the show that much harder.
It was a very hard decision. It was a very emotional decision. We used to have 50 members, and now we're down to, under 12, and the majority of us that run this show. And it was a decision that we wanted to make. We've lost some really good people. One of them was Ron Van de Zande back during COVID. He was the president of the Waupun Truck Show. We lost Steve Wendt. He was the treasurer for many, many years. He was one of the founders of the show. So was Ron. And we just lost this past year Phil Rook and many others that we have lost in the past. But we realize that some of us are getting older. Some of us have health issues. And we just wanted to be part of this show and take it out in a bang, because it is a very successful show, and we just felt that it was time. 35 years is a long time for a nonprofit organization, which we are, and we just felt that with several of us that do have health issues, a lot of us were longtime members and getting older, that it was a decision that we had to make. We didn't want to, but we just feel that it's time.
Proceeds from the Waupun Truckin' Show benefit local charities like Reach Relief and Make-A-Wish Foundation. The city of Boston is using artificial intelligence to cut down on congestion. The city recently partnered up with Google's Project Greenlight, which analyzed data from hundreds of intersections to develop recommendations about traffic flow. As a result, signals have been tweaked at 4 separate intersections. In a statement, Boston officials said the technology models traffic patterns and creates signal timing recommendations that can reduce stop-and-go traffic and emissions. The other U.S. city currently working with Project Greenlight is Seattle. Another autonomous vehicle company is planting roots in the U.S. market. South Korea-based Mars Auto said in a news release that it's setting up its U.S. headquarters just outside of Austin in Round Rock, Texas. Mars has been hauling freight with autonomous trucks in Korea since last year. The company uses self-driving long-haul trucks controlled by a camera-centric AI model. As Mars ramps up its U.S. operation, it's already retrofitted 3 trucks in Texas with its autonomous driving system. Roadrunner is expanding its LTL services in Canada. In a news release, the company said it will now be hauling to Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, and surrounding areas. Roadrunner expanded its LTL services into Toronto and Montreal earlier this year. This is an expansion of that. Cargo thieves have struck again in Philadelphia. The latest incident happening early Thursday morning. Police say a commercial truck was parked on a roadway when multiple male suspects got out of multiple vehicles, got inside the trailer, and took off with multiple cartons of canned tuna. Police say the truck driver was inside the cab at the time of the crime. A Texas construction company was targeted by tire thieves on 2 separate occasions at 2 separate sites in the span of 1 week. In a Facebook post, Brazos County Crime Stoppers said about 100 tires were stolen from Texcrete locations in Robertson and Montgomery counties. The suspects removed locks from front gates to gain access and disabled security cameras. Texcon is offering a $5,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest and conviction. A former fuel hauler is facing prison time after pleading guilty to dumping fuel in Pennsylvania. The incident dates back to 2021. George Smith has admitted in court to dumping some 4,000 gallons of gasoline down an embankment at a fueling station in Brookhaven. Surveillance video showed Smith in the act. Prosecutors say Smith was trying to reduce his number of stops and speed up his workday. As a result of the incident, a nearby stream was contaminated, wildlife was killed, and a nearby elementary school was forced to end its school year early. Smith faces up to 17 years in prison. Authorities in Ohio say an ongoing commercial vehicle enforcement blitz along Interstate 70 has already led to 2 significant drug busts. The state's attorney general said one traffic stop in Madison County last week turned up 300 pounds of methamphetamine, more than 17 pounds of cocaine, and 30 pounds of marijuana. Estimated street value more than $14 million. Days later in Clark County, another commercial vehicle thought to be involved in drug trafficking was stopped along I-70 in Clark County. Authorities seized more than $935,000 in cash. Ohio's attorney general said the seizures are thought to be among the largest in state history. And finally, a traffic alert for you Michigan drivers out there. Ramps at the Interstate 94 and State Route 139 interchange near Benton Harbor will be closed for about 2 weeks starting Monday, August 12th. Crews will be out rebuilding culverts during the closure. Expect delays. The closure is part of the state DOT's Rebuilding Michigan project. For up-to-the-minute links to road closures and road conditions throughout Michigan and any of the other 49 states, head to landline.media, click on the Resources tab at the top of the page, and scroll down to Road Conditions for Truckers. That's Landline Now News for today. I'm Scott Thompson.
Thanks, Scott. A reminder that the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance's annual Brake Safety Week will take place from August 25th through the 31st. During that week, inspectors across the United States and Canada will be checking all braking systems, with a special focus this year on brake linings and pads. For more information, go to the organization's website, cvsa.org. Again, that website, cvsa.org. Marty Ellis and OOIDA's tour truck, The Spirit of the American Trucker, are at the Waupun Truckin' Show. That takes place in Waupun, Wisconsin. Stop in, say hi to Marty, and join OOIDA for a $10 discount. Do you have a news tip? Maybe you have a comment about something you heard on the air, or maybe you just have a question about something happening in the trucking industry. Email us at landlinenow@ooida.com. Again, that email address is landlinenow@ooida.com. You can write a letter to your elected officials in Congress or look up contact information for lawmakers on the state and federal level by using the website fightingfortruckers.com. Next, Scott Thompson discusses a new email scam targeting truckers and other news of the week with Mark Schremer of Landline Magazine. S.J. Munoz, Tyson Fisher, and Ryan Witkowski will offer up some roses and raspberries, and we'll hear from one of the artists decorating an infamous truck-eating bridge in Kansas City, Missouri. We'll be right back. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
Every year, 28 million people are trafficked globally. The Your Roads, Their Freedom campaign seeks to raise awareness in the transport industry. Truck and bus drivers, be vigilant on the roads. If you see something suspicious, text 233-733 or be free.
Truckdown.com. Whenever you have a breakdown, you need Truckdown.com. 24/7 access to 40,000 verified heavy-duty repair vendors nationwide. Less weight, more freight. Truckdown.com.
Firestone tires are for more of everything, with more durability for more miles and more confidence in your fleet. Firestone's tested tires help fleets save with value where it matters most. Learn more at bridgestonenationalfleet.com/4moremiles.
It's tested and proven. Burn 2.1% less fuel when you balance all wheel ends with Centromatic. Call 800-523-8473 to get the OOIDA discount.
Welcome back to Landline Now. Whether it's another scam or predatory towing, it sure can feel like truckers are under assault on any given day. We've actually had developments on both of those issues in the past week, and joining us with a recap, rundown, review, another R word,
okay.
Mark Schrimmer, senior editor of Landline Magazine. Mark, how you doing?
Retort? Rebuttal?
Sure.
I don't know.
Let's
sure.
do it. Let's do them all. Let's get to all of them here. Let's start with this email phishing scam that's just seems to be getting bigger and bigger. We've talked about previous attempts in the past. It's come back around again. Big enough here that if FMCSA has issued a quote-unquote high alert this week, warning truckers about it. This one, Mark, we were talking earlier, especially troubling, I think, because it is super easy for someone to get tricked into clicking on a link on this one. There's a whole bunch of layers here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these type of scams and schemes aren't new. We've all seen them, whether you're in the trucking industry or just, anybody who has a phone will get a text message or an email, some sort of scam. The old Nigerian prince, here's $1 million. You just need to give me your social security number and we'll get that taken care of. Yeah. So we've all seen those, and a lot of those are easy to spot. But what in this case, I think they're gradually getting more sophisticated. This one is pretending to come from FMCSA. It includes forms that appear at first glance to be legitimate about registration, and it is asking for your PIN number, but the email address is coming from things that look real, like safety@fmcsa.gov or audit@fmcsa.gov. And if you aren't paying attention, it is to think, okay, yeah, I guess I need to renew this, and I guess I need to give them my PIN number. But the thing is, once you give that PIN number out, they can take over control of your operating authority, and they can start booking loads and doing a whole lot of shenanigans and hijinks at that point. So, the message here more than anything else is if you have one speck of doubt of whether something is legitimate, hold off and don't do anything, and maybe check other avenues to find out if it's legitimate before you act. But one thing to know, FMCSA is never going to email you and ask for your social security number through email or ask for your DOT PIN number. That's something that they don't do. That is not a common practice. So don't click on those links. Don't send that personal type of information over an email like that.
And I'll go a step further, too. Even if you get an email that is from FMCSA, there's no harm in just taking a beat.
Yeah.
Taking a step back and just doing some due diligence. I understand people are busy. I understand you're getting a ton of emails. Yeah. You've got paperwork to fill out. You've got all this going on. So, again, it can be easy to get tricked, especially when that email domain looks legit.
Yeah, 100%. And like we've talked about before too, these bad actors, these scammers that are doing this are probably sending 1,000 of these out every day.
Thousands,
if they get 10, that's good enough for them. So it's not, I don't think that it's got probably a high rate of success for them, but it only takes a few for them. And you don't want to be, one of those, bad stories on this. The other part of it is that we just have, this is going on over, I think all the time I look back and go, I wish sometimes we could go technology back to like 1992 because it just seems like we're getting more and more of these types of issues. Back to your point, Scott, stop take the beat, go to FMCSA's actual website,
the portal,
and go look at the Contact Us and make a phone call or do whatever you need to do to find out, hey, I just received this. Is this legitimate? Did this really come from your agency? Is this something that you would do? You can do that. Just, call OIDA, ask some questions, get some assistance there. But take that beat, give it some time, but don't react quickly, because that's what they're counting on.
And again, these emails are saying if you don't respond within a certain amount of time, we're going to fine you. That should be another red flag right there.
Yeah.
Again, they're trying to get you to rush into this, So again, just take a step back, take a beat, and make sure you're not walking into a trap. And unfortunately, it happens. And I understand how it can happen again, because these people know what they're doing.
Yeah, there's no shame in it if it does happen. But look for the red flags. I will also, the OIDA Foundation just put out some reminders and tips, and there's also a video on the OIDA Foundation YouTube channel that you can go to. It's about 5 minutes. It's real easy to watch, and it tells you some of the things to look out for regarding these sort of like phishing scams. So just, get informed and protect yourself.
Speaking of shenanigans, hijinks, bad actors, let's shift gears here to predatory towing. FMCSA collecting feedback, right? They're looking for ways to improve transparency in towing fees. They did take some comments. There were a number of them. I think about 100. Is that right?
Yeah, it was
Something
right
like
about
that.
100. Yeah.
The responses from truck drivers, and we'll talk about the other responses as well, but responses from truck drivers had a pretty common theme throughout the comment window there, right?
Yeah, and always when we talk about this issue, talk about kind of the main way we're talking about this tow, we're talking about, for the most part, non-consensual or third-party towing is what it's commonly referred to as. And that's a situation, so you have maybe a long-haul truck driver, maybe they're out of California, but they're delivering a load and they just happen to get into some sort of crash or incident where they need a tow maybe in West Virginia, and they're not familiar with things there. Law enforcement shows up. They want this tractor trailer removed as quickly as possible, so they go automatically to their towing rotation list. The truck driver at this point does not have an ability to choose which tow company. They don't have the ability to negotiate prices to see what they might be charged for this. The control is completely out of their hands. And as you would expect, when you have something like that, there have been instances of bad actors that will take advantage of this. And we have seen, issues of drivers charged $80,000 for a simple tow, $100,000, even $200,000. I'll give you one example that I used in a story. The Virginia Trucking Association was referring to one example where the bill was $202,000 for one of their members, truckers, the deal on one of these tows. And they put in the comments to FMCSA that they had on good authority that actually, even though they were billed an invoice for $202,000, that tow company actually contracted that out to another tow company, and they paid that tow company $25,000. So they paid $25,000 supposedly for the services, and then charged $202,000. That's a nice rate of return.
That's a big markup. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you bring that one up too, because I think it was interesting. There were comments from tow groups.
Oh, sure.
Tow operators.
There was a lot. I would say maybe actually more from tow groups than there were from truckers.
Yeah.
Or closely divided, but yeah, maybe a little bit more from tow groups.
Yeah, and they're not happy. I mean, we've talked about this before. I think the great number of towing companies out there are doing so in good faith.
Yeah.
They're doing things the right way. It's the small number of bad actors, again, that we're talking about here. But they made some points in the comments I thought were kind of interesting. And we've heard this in other forums as well, too, about having to make up costs, which was something that came up, right?
Which honestly is a little squishy to me.
Yeah.
When we do that, I understand the point. I mean, some of the comments that I see again and again from them is how difficult of a job it is, that they got to be on call 24/7, that people don't understand the true cost and all of this stuff. But to your point, one of the things that gets brought up a lot is that sometimes they have maybe difficulty, because again, they're, in fairness to them, where I'm saying the truck driver doesn't have the opportunity to choose, they also don't get to choose who their client is, and they don't get to run a credit report and find out whether they're actually going to get paid or whatever. They're doing a service for the county or for the state or whatever, to go and clear up traffic. So basically, but what they're saying is happening sometimes is almost admitting that they're inflating bills to make up for the people that they're not getting the money from. And like I said, that is particularly squishy to me, because I get it. I get the concept. But if it costs you $10,000 to do the tow and you're charging me $80,000
for trying to make up the money that someone else didn't pay you.
I mean, I understand you have to have a business model, but that's difficult for me to justify. And the other problem is that since we have such a patchwork of policies and regulations, or lack of regulations from state to state, county to county, a lot of these, there's not even a place, and this is something OIDA has worked on for years and years and probably decades, of trying to go into each state and get at least some sort of process that we can challenge and go, okay, you charged me $80,000. We can look at this, and we got video that shows you charged me for 2 wreckers, and there's only one on scene here. So, that's a real example that isn't that uncommon of those type of things that have happened. And so, but so many of these counties and states, there's not even a process where you can challenge it. They said $80,000, so that's it. And you need to, and they can sometimes hold your cargo hostage, hold your trailer hostage, all of these type of things. So it's a dangerous situation. I appreciate that Department of Transportation is actually taking this up and looking into it. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said some, I think very positive things, admitting that most tow operators are doing it the right way, but there is a segment out there that are taking advantage. When you don't have any sort of oversight whatsoever, there's going to be people that take advantage of it and do unscrupulous things. And that's what I believe is happening in at least some cases here.
Well, yeah, and we shouldn't be punishing, as to your point there, we shouldn't be punishing a truck driver who has an incident on the side of the road and needs to get towed legitimately. We shouldn't be punishing them for someone else not paying. There's something wrong, clearly. I mean, this is not...
There's a mess up with the system.
The system is messed up, exactly. I'm curious to see what FMCSA comes up with when they're talking about this. Obviously, on the legislative side, you mentioned OIDA taking efforts there. I don't know what FMCSA is going to be able to do here. I'm curious to see how they kind of come out on this. I hope it's not just a conversation that keeps on going and going and going like others that we've seen.
And it's always interesting, too, because we got that election looming, and so it could be a completely different administration here soon. And so, it's hard to tell where these things will go. Yeah. I do appreciate that they are looking at it. And so, I wait and see.
Well, and this should be a bipartisan thing, too. This shouldn't be a political thing. I know everything's political these days, but this shouldn't be a political... people are getting taken advantage of. Yeah. Let's protect those people. Let's make sure the people who are doing the bad things stop doing the bad things. That's my platform for 2028, I guess, when I run for president.
I'm voting for Scott Thompson.
All right, that's my single issue right there. Mark Schrimmer, we appreciate it. You can check out his work at landline.media, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Scott.
We'll step out here for a short commercial break, but do stick around. There's more Landline Now right around the corner.
Today's rising costs affect everyone. Replace your harmonic damper with a genuine Vibertech TVD viscous damper to prevent costly repairs and downtime. Keep your money in your pocket and your truck on the road with Vibertech TVD. Recommended replacement at 500,000 miles or 15,000 hours.
Ready to make more money? Use a better load board. For a limited time, get 50% off Truckstop Load Board Pro. Just go to truckstop.com/go and enter promo code READY2024 when you purchase Load Board Pro.
Are you tired of the IRS following you around like a dark cloud? Call 888-557-4020 and get your life back.
Landline Now, welcome back. Has your senator or congressman made you happy lately? Did the truck stop make you kind of sad? When they do either one, here at Landline, we have a special way of responding.
Ew.
We call it Roses and Razzberries. Staff writer S.J. Munoz keeps track of such things for Landline Magazine and for our program. S.J. is here now with the good, the bad, and the ugly from recent news.
And we're back with another edition of Roses and Razzberries. The usual crew back again, S.J. Munoz, Ryan Witkowski, Tyson Fisher. Just again, as always, we'd like to remind you, any ideas or welcome to those additions. So if you have a rose or a raspberry, go ahead and send those to roses@landlinemag.com. Now that we got that out of the way, how are we doing today, fellas?
Fantastic.
I have no complaints at all.
Man, you guys are just, right on top of it. And by the looks of things, I think we were all in pretty good moods because we got a lot of roses to get to. So, Tyson, why don't you get us started here?
Yeah, sure. I want to give some roses to a guy named Paul Lewis. So Paul Lewis, he's a truck driver from Ontario, Canada, and he found out about a 12-year-old boy who was basically waiting for a ride in a big rig. So the boy who has a Down syndrome, he was promised by his dad that he could ride in the truck when he turned 12. Well, unfortunately, the boy's father died from cancer before that could happen. So that's the sad story. But upon discovering this news, Lewis, he organized what he called a teddy bear run for the kid. So basically what Lewis did was that he got more truck drivers to participate in it was like a 5-mile convoy is what it was. So yeah, pretty cool. So, this is another, example of the trucking industry coming together pretty much, in a big way for an altruistic purpose, which, I always thought altruism is dead, but the trucking industry always kind of revives my faith in that maybe it does exist somewhere.
You're right.
In this world,
I too am also hard and crusted over inside, Tyson, and trucking has kind of renewed my faith in some of that. I see what they do with the Make-A-Wish convoys and the special Olympic convoys, and now this one as well. You're right, it's always going above and beyond, especially for folks with special needs, and there seems to be such a great connection there with those truckers.
Absolutely.
Too.
So yeah, roses to Lewis, and then all the other truckers who did end up volunteering their time to make a memorable moment for a kid. Yeah.
You obviously don't say this in a bad way, but you guys talked about how often it happens, and the trick for us sometimes is actually getting to speak with that person or finding out about it, because more times than not, they don't want the recognition. They're not in it for, the accolades and the pats on the back. They just want to, make this kid's day or these kids' days or however the case may be. So to go, kind of go to that length, we obviously...
It's such a simple act, too.
Right.
I mean, obviously you're giving up your time and you're coming out to drive and all of those things, but it's such a simple act. And I think that, folks outside of the trucking industry, they might lose sight of the fact that, truckers have a unique opportunity because every kid loves big trucks.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know a single kid who grew up that didn't think they were at least cool and wanted them to blow their air horn a couple of times when they pass. So it's such a simple act to be able to take, a Saturday or a Sunday out of your day and give up a couple hours. And this totally made this kid's day.
Yeah, well, this may not have, made their day, quote unquote, but it was definitely kind of given that perspective. Another group that got a ride in the truck along with truckers. Ryan, you got the story on this one.
Less of an altruistic intent with this ride along, but roses going out to the Wisconsin State Patrol for their recent Trooper in a Truck campaign. And look, I know that oftentimes law enforcement truck drivers are on opposite sides of the lines, but this one kind of caught my attention. Sergeant Daniel Dietrich of the Wisconsin State Patrol was recently on Landline Now talking with Mark Reddig, and he talked a little bit about the Trooper in a Truck program, but mentioned about the amount of violations that they catch. Obviously, they catch a lot during the regular workday. When they're in the trucks, he said that those violations are 5 to 10-fold. So obviously, it's a big benefit for them to be in the trucks and be able to see some of the distracted driving and unsafe behaviors that are going along around commercial vehicles. That was a tough one.
Easier for you to say, yeah.
Exactly. But the thing that stood out to me, he said, quote, there are issues, and this is how we want to work with the industry to remedy some of the things that they're dealing with on a daily basis. So not only was it a benefit for the Wisconsin State Patrol to be in those vehicles and actually be able to catch some people doing some things, but it's also a way for them to see some of the safety concerns that drivers just have on a day in, day out basis, being able to understand what it's like to be in the cab of a truck and know what it's like to have motor vehicles traveling around you. He also said that collaboration with the Wisconsin Trucking Association has also afforded officers with the Wisconsin State Patrol the chance to use driving simulators. So they've actually been able to get behind the wheel of a virtual semi and have a better idea of what it's like to deal with those blind spots and other in-cab safety concerns. So I just thought it was kind of unique and cool that they're taking this opportunity not as a gotcha aha moment to catch a bunch of people doing stuff, but they're also doing it to educate themselves about what it's like to be a commercial truck driver, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, it's very important to get the perspective, that first-hand perspective, because without it, like you just, it's all speculation, and that doesn't do anyone any good, especially when it comes to law enforcement.
Well, and I think we've all dealt with it too. Like truck drivers, they love their own, right? They feel that you can't understand it unless you've done my job and you walk a mile in my shoes, or I guess drive a mile in my truck. Like that's what they believe. Well, this is what these troopers are doing. So they're going out there and trying to get firsthand experience, and hey, I tip my cap to them on that.
Yeah, we see enforcement blitz, and it does make you, oh man, what's what this time? But this is in this case.
And like last month, I was making fun of them. So
so it's like go about it that way, and like you said, it's kind of one of those things, especially with this industry. Seeing it from firsthand is the best way to go. And this might not be next story here, something that you'd want to experience firsthand or get this perspective of. Tyson, why don't you tell us about the next one here?
So here's an extreme example of a front door delivery. Perhaps the more appropriate term would be in-store delivery. So here's some raspberries to a truck driver hauling 46,000 pounds of beef for plowing through a Wendy's in Pennsylvania. Yeah, so
they were the ones that had the "Where's the Beef" campaign, weren't they? Well, there it is.
It might have been, yeah. So, but that in itself doesn't warrant a raspberry because bad things happen.
Could be a mechanical deal. Who knows?
But this guy's excuse has to be a first time I've heard this one, which is when questioned by local law enforcement, the driver said his glasses had fogged up and that he couldn't see.
Hey, that's a very real concern.
So I can't really call out BS because I don't wear glasses, but it sounds like BS. It's like how often
it does sound like BS.
Time to time I wear them. Of course, Ryan's probably this glass wearing expert among us crew, but I wear them at night here time to time. But they can fog up, but I think that's a bit of a stretch, right?
No, you can take your glasses off and deal with it.
You can do that? Maybe a little defrost.
The option of going like this exists. I don't know if you guys do that.
Maybe kick up that defrost a little bit there in the cab or something.
He needs to turn his AC on or something, bro. He's getting a little sweaty.
I also want to give a shout out to WGAL. It's that local news outlet that's reporting on the crash for the very last sentence in the story that answered the most important question, which was the meat was destroyed. That was how they ended the story.
Good follow-up by the journalist.
Was destroyed. But at any rate, this gives a whole new meaning to the word drive-through, right?
Yeah, I think there's...
Come on.
There you go. That's good. Yeah, there probably wasn't a tip involved in this delivery either. We're going to go ahead and assume that.
Put a womp-womp sound effect in post.
So we talked about that in enforcement blitz typically being, a little worrisome. We also have some, federal testing issues that in most cases is not something is, on the good side of things, at least from the trucking perspective. But maybe you have a little bit of a flip up here again on us, Ryan?
Look, this one could have gone either way for me, I think. But I'm going to go with roses on this one. Roses to the U.S. Department of Transportation for withdrawing a final rule regarding oral fluid testing for transportation workforce drug and alcohol testing programs. That was a mouthful, and it sounds boring, but I swear to you, I found something kind of funny in this. So basically, for a little background, in May of 2023, the U.S. DOT announced amendments that were basically allow for the inclusion of oral fluid testing for drug programs. The department said final rule is not intended to replace anything, just basically give carriers another option, and employers another option for when it came to issuing those agency-issued drug tests. Now, there was still a myriad of issues they had to deal with, what technologies they were going to use, how they were going to train collectors. It was actually what they called I'm trying to recall the exact word. Either way, it was something that basically couldn't happen. They had written it in there, and they're like, wait, we just made something that couldn't happen. We made a logical fallacy here. And also certifying the laboratories to test something that, by the way, over a year later has still not even begun. So there's a lot of things that they have to clear in order to do this. But one of those things was kind of clearing up some of those testing parameters. And in an effort to address some of those concerns, the DOT issued a direct final rule this past June. Because it was a direct final rule, there was no public comment period. Now, here's the funny part, because I thought this was funny. I don't know, maybe I'm just out here getting joy out of other people's pain. But according to the DOT, that June final rule was published as a direct rule because without public comment period, because the agency felt, quote, it was a non-controversial action and anticipate no adverse comment on any of the provisions of the rule. Well, the DOT, being nice, gave stakeholders 24 hours to respond with concern and said they would pull that final rule if they did. Remember, they said it was non-controversial. They didn't anticipate any. Within 24 hours, they had 19 comments. So on August 1st, they withdrew that rule. Now, look, I get it. It's probably going to be something that slugs along at a pregnant pace, just like everything in legislative affairs for our country. But good on them for at least sticking to their word and being like, hey, we gave you 24 hours. We did actually get some comments. Sorry, our bad.
Right. I think just the concept of, federal and non-controversial, maybe just kind of that's where, it didn't quite go together there.
No, I've always said, and I've said it on the show before, which is, but the comment period is super important for anything, because any agency can't possibly account for all the possibilities that are out there. There's just so many variables, and so it gives people time to lend their expertise on the topic. Say, hey, you kind of missed this thing, So,
well, and we've seen legislative action that had a 30 or 60-day comment period, and then at the end of those 60 days, it's like 2 people said something.
Oh, yeah.
So, it was just kind of impressive to me to also see 19 different comments pouring over a 24-hour period about something that, quite honestly, is pretty damn boring.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, and kind of talking about, not being a one-size-fits-all business type, say that often. It's just what affects one person doesn't affect the other. So, yeah, it's like Tyson said, it's important to, voice your concerns and, speak up when you see something that's going to affect your business especially. But, Tyson, you have, a bit of a, maybe back a little bit of a follow-up to a previous story. Not necessarily a follow-up, but just a better spin on things here.
Yeah, so if I recall correctly, so the last Roses and Razzberries segment, I may have bummed everyone out with some dying puppies and kittens.
Really set my week off. That was good.
So let me make up for that by giving out a round of roses to all the truckers on Facebook that helped reunite a fellow driver with his canine companion. So what happened was an animal shelter in Oklahoma made a Facebook post looking for a trucker who had lost his dog at a local Walmart. Fortunately, there was a description of the driver in his truck. So what happened was the trucking community basically assembled and they found this guy. So, the truck drivers basically reposted that on Facebook community pages. And less than a week later, the animal shelter posted an update with photos of the trucker reunited with his dog, which was pretty cool.
These stories never get old to me.
According to the animal shelter, this happened because truck drivers, share the face on community pages and through their CBs and whatnot. So, social media can be an awful place sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And I have seen some trucker-specific Facebook pages that are just absolute dumpster fires. And I'm not going to...
two in mind right now. Okay. I'm not going to say
we won't name them specifically, but we'll say it's out there.
We all know they exist. But stories like this, it really shows us how much of a positive effect that social media can have on the world. Absolutely. So this driver was in Houston when he was contacted. And again, he lost his dog in Oklahoma. So not sure that happens in a pre-social media world. So awesome for everyone for doing that.
Yeah, I constantly have seen these stories, and they always amaze me how far apart these folks are. I mean, some of them we've seen be completely across country. Oklahoma to Texas, not that huge of a jaunt, but still, I guess Texas is a pretty damn big state, so it might be big. But still, I've seen some of these ones where it's spanning across the entire U.S. and folks are just reunited with their pets. And to me, I grew up in the 80s. That was the time you lost your dog. Hey, man,
you
made some flyers and looked around for a while, but other than that, he was gone.
down.
All right, well, if you have any more pet stories or anything of that nature, again, Rose or Raspberry can be sent to roses@landlinemag.com. That's it for this edition of Roses and Raspberries. For Tyson Fisher and Ryan Witkowski, I'm S.J. Munoz. Landline Now will be back after this commercial break.
Penske owns and operates some of the best-maintained vehicles on the planet. Our used trucks come with a 5-year maintenance report and pre-sale inspection. So if you're in the market for a top-quality pre-owned truck, look no further. Search our inventory today at PenskeUsedTrucks.com.
Control your toll costs and eliminate tolling headaches with Prepass Tolls. Prepass Tolls means toll volume discounts. Just one invoice for all tolls and fewer violations. Call 877-878-5970 or go to prepass.com.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one. That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com, because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
Landline Now, welcome back. Sometimes a bridge is just a bridge, but when a bridge finds itself in the headlines multiple times over multiple years because yet another commercial truck has hit it due to a low 12-foot tall clearance, it gets a bit of a reputation and a nickname. Usually it's called a truck-eating bridge, and this is the story of such a bridge, one that resides on Independence Avenue in Kansas City, Missouri. But the city has a plan, which is where artist Mike Elder comes in. Landline Magazine's Ryan Witkowski explains.
The Independence Avenue Bridge, the infamous truck-eating bridge in Missouri and here in Kansas City, according to KCPD, 40 collisions with that bridge since 2020. I know, Mike, it's a little crazy. And so in order to try to draw some a little more awareness to this, kind of beautify the area as well, the Northeast Kansas City Chamber of Commerce has decided to commission murals on 4 sides of that bridge. 15 different artists submitted 39 submissions, and one of those artists chosen was Mike Elder, who joins us now. Mike, thanks so much for joining us, and I guess we'll get it kicked off with just asking you what kind of made you want to become part of this project?
Oh man, I've been an artist my whole life, to be honest, and it's kind of a long story, but I've always seen that bridge. As a kid, we'd drive by and I've seen trucks stuck under it before. So it's been a lifelong thing seeing that bridge, but I'm just kind of redoing things. I'm kind of reaching back to my artistic side and saw this opportunity to do this mural and thought, man, I'm going to jump on that. So yeah, that's literally how that happens. It's about how everything in my life happens. It's like, oh, that looks like fun, and there I am.
Well, and I mean, I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination, at least here in Kansas City, to call that thing a landmark, right?
Oh, for sure. And how many people drive under that thing every day? And let's face it, it's ugly. Yeah. It stops trucks, and trucks run into it. But it goes way beyond that. There's people that live in that area. There's people that drive through there every single day. I drive through there all the time. And that bridge is a landmark, but also an eyesore. So this is kind of a nice combination to fix all that.
Indeed. Well, and it's also like a block and a half away from my favorite taco joint in the city. So I'm very excited to know that I get something to look at when I go get tacos. Talk a little about your connection with trucking, because you had mentioned that to me, how you had a bit of a connection with the trucking industry already.
Yeah, I actually worked, almost a decade, I'd say total, in the trucking industry. I sold oil and tires to big trucking companies, and then later truck parts, heavy duty truck parts. And besides that, I've got buddies that are truck drivers and stuff. I think I have a buddy that drives past that every day on his way to work to drive a truck, knowing full well not to try to go under it. So
safe to say there may be a little empathy at play here as well.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Trucking companies always have issues with, stuff like this, and it's something that costs them a lot of money. It's kind of fun to do something that's not necessarily going to stop anybody from driving under the bridge, but at least if they do, they'll have something to look at while they're waiting to get towed out.
Well, Mike Elder is joining us. He's one of the artists that's been commissioned to paint one of the 4 sides at the Independence Avenue truck-eating bridge. And Mike, let's talk a little bit about the actual design that you submitted, because I really, really like your design. It's a big monster truck. It's got cargo flying out the back, and all of that cargo is like Kansas City themed kind of cargo. It's like KC Easter eggs for you to find in the mural.
Yeah, I mean the whole idea is people drive by and people walk by that wall. The design is pretty literal. I mean, it's a monster living under the bridge. I kind of always think of any bridge as having like a troll living under it, kind of a thing. That was kind of a thing growing up. We always thought there was a troll under bridges. And so anyhow, this is the troll that is basically the spirit of that bridge, and with his big frog-like tongue sucking trucks in. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's meant to be fun. There is a lot of, and there will be more. That's a big wall. It's kind of fun and easy to hide small things in it. But definitely a lot of different nods to different aspects of Kansas City. The bridge is, to me, synonymous with part of Kansas City, and I just wanted to throw in as many little things that kind of remind me of Kansas City. And there's a few nods to all sorts of things.
Yeah, I like the fact that it seems like one of those pieces of art that I'm going to have to see a whole bunch of times before I really ingest all of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what it was about those little traffic cones you had in there too, but those were one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, and I've been having dreams about those guys. So they're going to change a little bit. And I don't know if you noticed, but they're like I don't know. I kind of had this idea that all came in later after I had the bridge drawn and the troll and all that other stuff. This idea of like somebody trying to sabotage the whole not driving under the bridge. So you have these kind of evil traffic cones, and there's a UFO kind of beaming up the signs. And And I was thinking about having one of those. You must be this tall to ride this ride, and have one of those traffic cones.
Well, I'm here for that, man. I'm here for that. Well, talk to me about working in a space like that too, because I'm assuming you've done murals of this magnitude before, but never in like that busy of an area, right?
You know what, man? This is my first real mural, to be honest. I mean, wow. I've always been so and I got awarded the biggest wall. It's one of those teach yourself.
No pressure, huh?
Yeah, man, nothing at all. But I love that sort of thing. And that I own storage units here on my farm, and a few of them have concrete walls. So I've been kind of going through and basically, I mean, this sounds ridiculous because they've hired me to do this wall, but I'm teaching myself how to use rattle cans and teaching myself. And no joke, man, I probably shouldn't even admit this. I should totally make up a better story, but I had never held one of the graffiti style rattle cans in my hand ever until maybe, a week or two ago. Yeah.
Oh, so it's going to be a make or break moment for you is what you're telling me. All right. Well, no pressure on that,
I'm
man.
confident. I know how to paint. I used to teach airbrush classes.
Sure.
So I know how to paint, and I know how to, and I spray cars, and I've done large pieces of artwork using spray guns, just never rattle cans and never on a huge wall like that.
Sure.
So I'm definitely learning as I go.
And never with the eyes of the city on you.
Yeah. How many cars driving by all day
long? We're all
watching,
watching, Mike. I don't know if
I know.
Pressure.
I've literally had people email me asking if they can get my schedule so that they can go down and watch me paint. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't post a schedule. That way I don't end up
Not
with a
at
crowd.
all, man. Not at all. Well, last week was when they actually announced the artists that were awarded. Talk to me a little bit about that excitement of just being selected among, a lot of very talented artists.
Yeah. And when I went down there, they had like a walkthrough. And when I went down there was some artists that I recognized, some sidewalk artists and some really talented people. And so I went there with a friend, and I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm getting this gig. And so did the artwork, did the submission, sent it in, and man, to be picked and to get the biggest wall out of all of them, it was a real humbling experience. I was real excited and then really terrified. It's like, holy crap, now I actually have to do this. So, yeah.
Well, especially for someone who's never held a rattle can before.
Yeah, man. I mean,
you should let all the other artists know that too, man. I'm sure they find that.
Somebody asked me while I was at the dinner, there was a luncheon with all the artists. They're like, what's your tag name? And I'm like, tag name?
You haven't even gotten that far yet, man. Well, hopefully you figure one out, because the work's expected to start after the holiday weekend, completion in early August. So I'm looking forward to seeing these things, man. They're going to be a real treat for the city. And as you mentioned, now the truckers that get stuck under the bridge, they'll at least have something to look at while they're waiting to get towed off.
Absolutely. And the tow truck companies and the police. So, we're satisfying a lot of needs here.
Yeah. Suddenly the photos that are going to come from these accidents actually are going to be a little more eye-pleasing.
Yeah, they're going to be a lot more interesting. Mm-hmm.
Well,
sure.
Mike, we appreciate the time today, man, and I look forward to following up with you when this artist is done, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate you too, man.
Our thanks to Mike Elder for taking some time to speak with us about the project. The Independence Avenue Bridge has become something of a local celebrity. It's got its own Facebook page and multiple accounts dedicated to it on X, and attention should only grow thanks to the murals. Elder's mural shows a truck spilling its Kansas City-themed load, and another shows a series of Venus flytraps trying to snatch a winged semi out of the air, while another depicts colorful semis in an underwater theme. There are 4 of them in all created by artists local to Kansas City. The Northeast Kansas City Chamber of Commerce is hosting a mural reveal celebration on September 24th near the bridge. For more information, visit nekcchamber.com. And that's our show for today. From all of us here at Landline Now and Landline Magazine, we thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
Capital Reman is your leading source for quality remanufactured engines and components. Capital Reman stands ready to serve all OOIDA members to help reduce costly engine repairs or replacement. Visit capitalreman.com today and use code OOIDA10 to save.
ULSD is hurting your engine. Fight back with Howe's Diesel Defender. Get the most powerful cleaning and maximum lubricity to protect and extend the life of your entire system. At a guaranteed increase in fuel economy, and you can't go wrong with Howe's.
Dispatch, I picked up that load of steel, so I'm ready to roll.
Sounds good. Remember, we're getting paid by weight, so make sure to use a CAT scale.
I wouldn't weigh anywhere else.
Forget miss accuracy, weigh your truck on a CAT scale.
I'm a dad,
a son,
a husband,
wife.
I'm a writer,
photographer.
I farm.
I'm a veteran.
I love old cars, fishing,
my kids,
chrome,
and I am
a professional truck driver.
And together we are OOIDA.
OOIDA was founded by truckers to stand up and speak on behalf of truckers. We've done that by combining the individual voices of our members into a single, powerful voice. Protecting your interests, defending your rights.
Join us!
Make your voice heard. Join OOIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. Call 1-800-444-5791 or visit OOIDA.com.